Hello guys, welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we're back here with another video podcast talking about anime. And this time, joined by the same people as last time.
As always.
Yep. This time, we will be talking about first episodes, because that whole 3-episode rule, we're too lazy for that, so we're going to talk about good first episode, what makes a good first episode, and how to, hook your audience, basically. Or what we look for in a first episode. And, yeah, that being said, I think that's... Yeah.
Let's do it.
We're just going to talk about a bunch of good first episodes, and good examples of first episodes and stuff like that. As well as we'll probably talk about some bad ones. Some things that went wrong. Anyway, we have quite a few that come to mind.
I have a few.
A few? Okay.
Almost
Cool.
none.
Dang it, Quinn. Do your homework.
I can pull something out of my butt. I swear. I'll figure it out.
Well, if we can either start with things that have been known to have good first episodes and newer first episodes.
Stuff have been known.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like Sword Art Online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sword Art Online. We'll start with that one.
Rocking it today.
We'd go.
You did the thing.
Yeah.
Why do I do this to myself?
What? Look up all the time?
Okay, even as bad as first episode me, but
Okay.
continuing.
Back on topic. So, yeah, Sword Art Online. Honestly, for how bad that show is, it had a really good first episode.
I was so excited for that show.
We all were so excited after the first episode.
I was so happy about this. I was like, this is anime, and I must watch this entire
This
show.
is gonna be so
and
good.
love anime for the rest of my life. And then the rest of the
you
show
watched
is
that show for a girl. so-
dramatic. Well,
We all have
it,
our reasons.
I watched it for me and for a girl.
But mostly for a girl. Anyway.
Yeah.
Or I should, there.
I guess I could have passed it on.
Pass
it on.
Pass it on like it's gonna mean something.
Right?
Man, we got way off topic again.
Oh, man.
We're good at this, guys. We swear. But no. What makes that episode so good is that it establishes several key important aspects that good first episodes need to hit. First off, it establishes the plot, which I think is the most important thing to do in a first episode. It's not the first thing you want to do, but in any good first episode, it establishes the plot.
Yeah.
What you're going to be expecting. What the challenge is, what the main challenge is, what the ultimate, maybe not even necessarily the ultimate goal, but what, the goal is for whether it be that arc or whether it be the entire show.
What is the genre? What is the goal?
Yeah. So, establishing that plot with, the genre as well as the goal is definitely the first and most important thing, I would say. Because it doesn't matter about anything else if you have no idea what the heck is going on.
Also, characters. Because it really helps if you care about the people the stuff is going on with, too.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're like, okay, this is a cool story, but, I don't really care about any of the characters, so,
Yeah. Establishing characters is, I would say, second most important. You have plot, and then characters. And
Even really long anime do that pretty well, except for Fairy Tail.
freaking Fairy Tail.
Episode 1 of One Piece, from the beginning, this is Luffy, he's adorable, he's gonna be king of the pirates. It might be in 5,000 episodes, but eventually we'll get
Yeah.
One Piece is still running, guys.
Or start of Naruto, you're like, okay, he's going to be the Hokage.
Yeah.
Someday.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in Fairy Tail, we don't get that, and that's why it's sad.
And you're like, what's going on here, guys?
We're just hating on
It
it because Quinn
establishes
likes it.
it establishes the plot. We're wizards and we beat people up and destroy cities. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of Fairy Tail's shtick. It's
That's
like,
the first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People do dumb things and we beat them up for it. Like it's our job.
Except you have no idea why they do it.
It's a really dumb show.
it's a
okay?
really-
and
it's
I
a-
love it.
But
For unknown
Let's
reasons,
be honest.
even to myself, okay?
let's be honest, it doesn't have the greatest first episode.
No.
No.
I think all three of us, like after watching the first episode, were pretty confused
It's like,
as to like what exactly we were getting into.
I think I watched 2 episodes and then I dropped it and then I picked it back up again later.
Yeah, and that's the
Because it
thing.
was like,
It's
it's
kind
not
of
that good.
weird.
yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't really give you a whole lot of goal
Yeah.
setting. Like you don't get a goal, a specific, concrete. This is what I want to do.
It starts out really episodical, where it's like, this is what we're going to do for now, but like you can tell, even as it's happening, like this is a micro goal. This is not like, this is going to pass this episode. It's like, this is what's happening right now, and it's like, okay, I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
But you're like, why should I be interested in the long run?
And later on, it's like our goal is to not die.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
Yeah.
Or to make sure that these other people don't die.
Yeah. But yeah, that's one thing that definitely needs to be established. And I think, I also think that one thing that, to rag on Fairy Tail just a little bit more, is that Fairy Tail didn't really establish the characters all too well. It like showed you some of the characters, and it established Lucy fairly well as a character in the first episode.
Yeah.
But Natsu and Happy were kind of like these weird adventurers that showed up, and you didn't
They kind
know
of cameoed in the episode.
You
You're
didn't
like,
really know how important they were going to
Oh,
be,
not at all.
just from the first episode, and that's why it's like it was kind of weird. It was kind of iffy. However, there have been many other shows that have had really good first episodes, and so Sword Art Online, to bring it back to that, it establishes its characters fairly well. And when we say establish characters, we don't mean like get everyone in the cast there for that first episode and all that. We mean establish 2 or 3,
Main
maybe 4
characters.
main characters. And you can like have a supporting cast there,
Yeah.
but that's not the important.
They're not nearly as involved.
Yeah.
And you can tell.
Yeah.
In a good
and
one.
In Sword Art Online, he established Kirito and Klein.
Klein.
And that's it.
And it was really good. And we all thought Klein would be important. Rip Klein screen time. It was not the case. But
Poor Klein. It's my favorite character.
press F in chat for pay respects to Klein.
A moment of silence for Klein.
Rest in peace.
But focus on me. Thank you, camera. But it did establish its characters fairly well. We knew who the main character was. We knew who the side character was going to be. We knew what the plot of the show was going to be. And it was an interesting plot. It had interesting characters. It started out with interesting characters and an interesting concept.
Yeah, and it
What
had
it
like
did
a
from
lot
there,
of
it was-
rules of you die if this happens, you die if this happens. And so they had to like kind of dump all of that information all on us at once, but it was still like, whoa.
Yeah, and
And it was a fairly new concept back then of virtual reality.
yeah. And information dumps can work if you set up the world in a way that, like, an exposition dump works. Right? So with Sword Art Online, we did get a lot of information. It was just, like, spewing exposition. But it worked because literally everyone in the game had to have that information given to them. So it worked because everyone needed that information. Everyone who was there needed that information, and so did the audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are shows where exposition.
There you go.
Wow, my words. Exposition dumps
Don't
are
really work.
yeah.
No.
They're just like words. And you're just like, I'm so confused. I don't. What? Why do I need this? Why do they need this? Just like a character talking at another character for no reason. I can't think of anything that come to mind because they're so forgettable. Those moments are just okay. So that's one thing. Like, if your world can do an exposition dump, wow.
It's a rough word.
It's because I'm trying to
It's
go
okay.
exposition and then dump,
Oh.
and so it goes expedition. Nope. Anyway, if you're trying to get out a lot of exposition, someone else talk.
You didn't even finish the thought.
Please help.
If you're trying,
If you're trying to, then don't overdo it.
Yeah.
Don't overdo
basically.
it.
only if you can. Only
Like
if
Kyle.
Don't
makes,
force it.
Yeah.
Don't force it.
Only if it makes sense for your
Yeah.
world and your characters and stuff like that. For example, there's a lot of times where characters will have amnesia or something like that, and that's one way to do it.
Convenient.
But it's very convenient.
Kind of a trope.
You're
Yeah.
like, really?
Oh, this character forgot everything, so
So
now
we're
we
gonna
have to
tell them
explain
everything.
everything. And it's also pretty bad. Anyway,
They do that in Angel Beats.
how dare they
But
do that
it's
in
still
SSS Gridman?
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a good show.
But you don't watch it for its story.
No, not SSS Gridman.
Yeah, that's what I was.
That's not for the story.
It's for the giant robots.
It's for the good stuff, man.
Anyway, so those two things are very important in establishing or doing a good first episode. The plot and the characters. And the third one is absolutely the world. You have to set up the world. Mm-hmm. Who's in your world? What's the world like? What are the surroundings? What are the rules? Stuff like that. Even if it's something very basic and kind of like a soft rule for your world, you still have to establish some sort of rule, some sort of like, this is how things work.
Even if it's like basically a real world anime, like this is our world. Mm-hmm. Though like that needs to be set up and made clear that it's not going to be like, and like in all shows that have a good first episode, it does that. Like you'll know by the end of the first episode whether it's going to be like pretty much real world expectations or like science fiction-y or like
or
Actually,
oh, it's our world, but with the addition of like
yeah.
monsters or the addition of magic or what have you,
Or Death Notes.
or Death Notes, or it's our world with titans, etc., etc.
That- well, Less our world.
When I come to
Sort of
when I
far
think
future,
of
kinda
a
not,
good
though.
first episode that like introduced the world well, I think of Gurren Lagann.
I haven't watched that one.
Because it's
Really
like,
good one.
hey, we live underground because it's safer, and everyone's safer that way, and then we put in jail anyone who tries to leave this to the surface, because that is like a breach of our humanity, because we will die, right? And then it introduces one of the main characters. Hi, I'm Kamen, and I challenge the status quo in every possible moment that I can. And so he tries to dig all the way up to the surface, and then it causes this huge problem, and everyone's mad at him, and it's great.
I'm gonna slap him. No, I have no idea.
And he does it repeatedly, over and over again. You can't do that. Doing it.
Doing it. Let's go.
Giant
Do it, you
robot,
won't.
little dude with a sword. Who the hell do you think I am? It's so good. That's
Now
why
I
he's
got a
such
fire in my
lovable-
belly.
Yeah. He's such a lovable character. And so it establishes the character and the world and how they relate to each other very well in that. Just in one episode. Also, nice body.
Shut up.
Another show that has a really good first episode is Attack on Titan. Because it does all those three things that we've talked about really well. You get a story. You get, like, okay, humanity needs to not die. Which connects really closely to the world of, there's titans outside our walls, and, like, if somehow they get to us, we're all gonna get eaten and, dead. And it also does a really good job of establishing the three main characters of Eren, Mikasa, and Armin. Yeah. And, like, okay, lots of people die in that show, but they don't. So you're like, wow, these really are the main characters. No way.
Yeah, in the first episode, you see a lot of people die, but you see the three main characters survive. So therefore, main characters. That's how you know.
Basically.
But that
and
is
side character Hans.
Yeah.
Side character Hans that shows up eventually.
Hans. Yeah, he cameos in a couple episodes. He's definitely sidelined. But,
Yeah.
I like Hans.
he's a good kid. Man, sir.
He's a good
Dude.
He's a
Old
good
guy.
dude.
He's like 35. He's not old.
Older than 35. Anyway,
I mean, when
sure?
you're
Anyway.
saying a 35-year-old is a kid, and you're like 20.
Hey. I don't know, man.
anyway, that one does have a really good first episode. And one thing that it does that a lot of first episodes do, and it's really helpful for a first episode, but isn't integral, is having a surprise or a twist, right? Something that shatters the norm.
Bunny girl suit.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll get back to that.
No.
Why not? That was a good first episode.
That's not the twist, though.
I know. But also,
twist.
It's kind of the twist. It's the hook.
hook.
The
You're
hook.
right. At the start of the episode.
Nothing will hook a young man like a bunny girl.
Anyway, back to Attack on Titan and
Yes.
death and stuff.
Ah, yes. People get eaten and then regurgitated.
Yes. That's not in the first episode.
That's
What are
true.
you talking about?
People get eaten.
Episode? Yeah,
It's
people
like,
get
what are you
eaten
talking about?
They talk about that later, I guess.
But yeah, people.
when we're not doing first episodes.
No, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Sumimasen.
Shut up, Tanner. God. But
Okay.
yeah, first episodes. Attack on Titan. What it does at the very end is so at the very beginning it sets up the twist that will happen at the end of the episode, and it's as Quinn likes to put it. It's a hey guys, stay till the end of the show.
You got your big boy that's like,
The colossal titan.
yo, stay to the end of the show, you'll like it. I promise.
And then they're like, poof,
And then it's
hours
and
earlier.
he's gone. And then you're like, waiting till the end of this terrible episode, and at the end,
Surprise, hoes! I'm back.
sup.
Sup, I'm back.
Sup, I'm
Crap's
back.
about to happen, and then
Watch
you're just
this.
like, oh, wait, his mother was just.
Oh, yeah.
We all. Did
Well,
we all
even
watch
before that, like, just the colossal
Did we all
titan
see the same thing?
kick and people just, like, flying off the street and
Yeah.
houses just being demolished by the force of the kick.
You're just like, oh, it's this kind of show.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the kind of show I'm watching. All right, I'll watch episode 2 of this.
3Ds. Death, destruction, and devastation.
Yes.
all by a foot.
Yeah,
When
absolutely.
making a shonen anime, always remember the 3Ds.
Your new favorite anime, now in 3D.
In 3D. All 3 of them?
Yes.
Yeah, all in the first episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think most successful first episodes do have that twist, that surprise.
Yes.
Honestly, it's what shakes up the norm. It's what like sets up the goal a lot of times, right? Because without that first episode, without the colossal titan being there, you don't get Aaron's determination to become a member of the scout regiment, or you don't get
Kill Titans.
you don't get really any development without
That's
that
what starts,
person,
like, all of the characters'
even
development.
before that happens, he's like, I'm going to become a scout because I want to traverse the outside world. And then that happens, and he's like, I'm going to become a scout so I can kill
all
every
the Titans.
Titan.
All of them.
Titans. Every one of them.
And you're like,
You're like,
and see,
I like this kid.
it's another one of those like Naruto or like even Black Clover type moments where like the first episode you're like, yeah, he's gonna become like something really awesome. Let's watch it.
Yeah.
Let's see how he does it.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what makes a good first episode is establishing the norm and then shattering it. So you establish the world
Ooh.
and then you destroy it.
Ooh. Like the one we just watched.
Ooh, yes.
So,
Shall we?
like literally right before we recorded, we watched the first episode of the new show that came out this season called The Promised Neverland.
Promised Neverland.
And
I always forget the title.
if you have not seen it, if you have not heard anything about it, stop watching. Go watch it right now. Go watch the first episode.
Because it's,
Before hearing anything about it, go watch it right now. And then come back.
Because it's so much better if you haven't heard anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how I watched it, and it was amazing.
Yes.
I knew a lot about it, and I'm sad that I did. Because going into it blind would have been so much better. Like, what I got from his reaction was what I was hoping to get, but
Yeah.
didn't, because I already knew about even just, like, small stuff. I didn't spoil it for myself, but I knew what it was. So, go watch it. I'm going to give you some time. Okay, have you watched it? Good.
Back to the
Welcome
show.
back.
So welcome back. So now that you've watched it, at least the first episode, it is an incredible journey. Because just in the first episode, we establish the norm, which is all these children living happily in
Orphanage.
an orphanage.
And they're adorable.
Mom
They're
takes care of them.
Adorable. Right? We
And they
established
all
that.
wear
We established
white.
3 characters. Emma, Ray, and I forget the other dude.
Norman.
Norman. There we go. That's
And
why I
at the
forget.
beginning of this episode, I couldn't decide whether it was like in our modern world or not. I was like, when are
Which
we? Where are
adds to the suspense.
The like, what is it? What's
Yeah,
happening?
what am I
we?
watching?
And then they go play tag,
In the forest, around their house.
and it's adorable.
And it's adorable.
And it establishes like a
But then later,
athletic ability versus strategy.
and later we figure out why both of those things are
Low-key.
important. Like why the game of tag was like, oh, that was like significant for the rest of the series.
And that's another way, or that's one thing that's very important, is like, it's like the Chekhov's gun, right? If you've heard about the Chekhov's gun thing, is if in one scene you set a gun up onto the wall, in the next, whenever, you have to...
By the end of
eventually-
the show.
Yeah, by the end of the show, you have to
Use
it. You have to apply it, right? And so that's one thing that they establish is that, right? How dare you? Shut up.
What? No.
No.
Quinn just keeps,
Yes,
and that's what I'm trying to.
that happens to me.
He goes straight back
happens
to it.
me.
Anyway.
Sorry.
Ignore
Carry
it.
on.
So what they do is they establish that strategy is very important in a game like tag, as well as in a game like chess and stuff like that, where strategy is how Norman, who's not nearly as athletic as Emma, was able to catch her, right?
Which, when I was a kid, tag was whoever's the fastest wins.
Yep. And that's one thing that also like sets up the show really well.
And it's like, oh, these are very smart kids. I was
Yeah.
not that smart as a
They're
kid.
Yeah.
very intelligent.
Absolutely.
kids.
Our 3 main, at least.
Yeah, the 3 that we have established. So one, it sets up the characters and it sets up the norm, the normal world, right?
The Norman world.
I hate you.
Don't.
And
oh
then-
my
Sorry.
goodness.
And then we see
Then-
one of the characters, Connie,
Connie.
she leaves with Mama. And
Because she's going to get adopted,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
They're also excited to get adopted too.
There. And it
But also sad to leave their friends from the
Yeah.
house.
and then they cry and then you're just like, "Oh gosh, what's going to happen?"
I was like,
And the
oh,
suspense
this
is
girl's
Okay,
gonna...
we also
And
need
then
to
the
know
mom
that
was
this is
weird,
in the
and I
middle
was
of the
like,
night.
Something weird's gonna happen to this girl.
Yeah, and Mama's like singing this song under her breath, and Connie's like, "What song is that?" And Mama's like,
You don't
doesn't
get
say
to
anything.
know.
They keep walking, and
They
you're
just
like,
keep walking, and you're like, okay,
Something's wrong here.
Something's wrong.
And that, yeah,
yeah.
with a horror anime, with horror in general, establishing like suspense prior to the reveal is incredibly important. And just little things like that, like you notice several times it highlights the numbers on their necks.
they have
They have like
basically
tattoos
branded on their side
on
of their necks.
Yeah, yeah. Which, you know, reminds me of the Holocaust, which was not a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you're like,
Also,
why are there numbers?
Also, they legit do that to cows.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Which, like,
Well,
also adds to the...
that was part of the Holocaust, was dehumanizing humans,
Yeah,
so that it would be that much easier
dehumanizing
to,
them.
you know, murder mass numbers of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The two things that I feel like this first episode did really, really well were the sound design and the camera angles. In addition to the other stuff we've talked about, like, those things were done really well in these suspenseful moments where you're like,
Yeah.
ooh, what's gonna happen?
There were times where it was just normal, like, they were playing tag, and then all of a sudden, all you hear is footsteps. Is Emma's footsteps walking through the grass, and nothing else. And then when you hear more sound cut in, it's wind, which is also, you know, one of those things that's used to add suspense. So that...
And I thought that moment was really cool, because shortly thereafter, Ray shows up in the scene, but we didn't hear any of his footsteps. He's just there, and you're like, wow.
And, yeah.
Yeah, that guy was... I said he Batman'd his way into the scene.
And he...
Where he wasn't there, and suddenly he was there.
Yeah. And...
He's good.
And so we established that,
This
like,
kid's good.
we established that something's off, that something isn't right. This isn't a normal orphanage, right? And then the plot happens. We get Connie is taken away. You have Emma and Norman with little bunny running to go give the little bunny back to Connie.
Connie's
Before she leaves.
stuffed animal.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay, just
Not an actual
connection.
bunny.
Not an actual bunny.
But when they get there to where, you know,
At the gate.
at the gate of the orphanage.
For the first time, it's open.
Yeah, for the first time it's open. We've seen it several times and it's been closed, but for the first time it's open. And we see there's no one there, but there's a truck. And inside the truck, spoilers, is Connie's dead body.
I love the way that they did that, though.
That was an incredible scene.
The camera angles of that, where she saw it first. The girl saw it.
Emma. We
Emma
didn't
saw it.
get to see Connie
And
until...
we didn't see it, the audience.
And we're
and,
like,
and you know that she's seen something.
what
freaky.
did she see? Because her facial reaction was so good.
Yeah.
And the vocal...
And then
Props
she's like,
to the voice actor for Emma, by the
then
way.
she's
Absolutely.
like, Norman, come look at this. And then he's walking up to it, and I was like, okay, when Norman sees, we're gonna see. And
And
it
then
takes
he
so
sees it.
long.
And then it's still probably 5 seconds or more later that it shows
Where
us.
he sees it, we see his face. And they're like, okay, what
is
it?
And then, yeah, and then the surprise happens before we even get the goal, the plot, what is actually going to be happening. We get the surprise first, which is so good.
It first snaps to her dead face, and then it like goes back up, and then it pans down because you get to see the rest of her body too. And there's like this flower growing out of her.
And she's kind of crippled, like
Oh,
her legs
yeah.
are broken.
Yeah,
or
she's all messed
something.
up.
It's
Like,
rough.
it was not a clean death, and
No,
you could tell.
no, she's been brutalized.
And then it introduces the monsters in the same episode, which aren't necessarily creepy, but
I
like
mean,
just due to the art style, like they're not exactly the scariest, right? They're not something where you're like, oh, that's gross to look at. You're just like, that's menacing.
movement,
Yeah. movement's unnatural.
Yeah.
It's a more menacing look
Yeah.
than like gross.
Yeah.
And that's due to the art style and animation and the type of horror that they're going for.
They're creepy.
They're
I
definitely
love it.
creepy, but it's just like you're not like it's like even though you kind of get the like it's not a jump scare reveal, but when they do reveal, it's like supposed to be surprising. It's not a oh god.
Well, because the way they set it up, they have human voices basically, and like you don't when they first like walk out of their room, you're
Yeah, I
like,
thought like two dudes in trench coats were
yeah,
gonna come
absolutely,
out.
and then it pans up to them, and you're like,
Those are not human.
Yeah.
not remotely, alien demon monster things.
And they want to eat the girl,
Oh.
but they're not allowed to because they're selling the girl.
Yeah,
And that's
Dead body.
Oh yeah. By the way,
Tony.
it's not an orphanage; it's a farm.
yes.
And then they're like, okay, I want you to give us the 3 11-year-olds, which are the 3 main characters that we've been talking about.
For the next shipment.
For the next shipment of product.
And you're just like, oh,
I was like,
yep.
All right.
And that's when the plot kicks in, and the other, the two that were there, Norman and Emma, decide, okay, we gotta
get out of
save
here.
everyone.
Well, first they got to get out of there alive.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
like,
they get
we-
out, and then they establish that, guys, I'm trying to skip stuff, so we can't cover the whole episode.
Why not?
Shut up!
Yeah,
sorry,
Then
it was
they're
so
like,
good.
we gotta run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They get out, and then they establish we have to save everyone, and that's the plot. It is a phenomenal first episode. Right from the opening to the ending. By the way, opening is amazing, ending is also amazing. Watch them both. But it is an incredibly intense ride, and just like you're just sitting there like, what is happening? What is?
You haven't said the best part, though.
Oh, the final clip.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
so as Emma and Norman were running away, they left Little Bunny on the ground there because they couldn't give it to Connie because she was dead. You know. So the last clip of the episode, it shows Mama holding Little Bunny with this face like,
Yeah. And you're
Just
like,
the most disappointed face.
and it's like 2 seconds long, and it's very quick and in your face, and then it's like
and then
credits.
Yeah.
It's intense. Anyway,
It is intense.
really good first episode.
We talked about it for a while.
Yeah,
We should probably talk about
Yeah.
something else.
'cause-
We went from
but it
oh, no,
does.
we're scared
it
to
was
oh, we're
really,
safe to oh, we're scared.
It did
again.
all of the things.
Yeah.
It does
really well.
All of them
All of them.
very well.
Yeah, and that's why I would say it's probably the best first episode I've seen
In a long time.
in a long time. I don't.
Especially for like recent anime.
Yeah, I mean, Attack on Titan had a good first episode. It was kind of boring.
Until the very end. where
until
they're
the
like,
very
oh,
end.
Okay, now people are dying. Stuff's happening.
Yeah. But that one, like, it gives you enough time to, like, fall in love with the characters without making it boring.
Mhm. And the family are like, oh, this is a nice family. I like Mom. 15 minutes later, she's dead. So that's kind of hard. So
Yeah. Anyway, that was
yeah.
Promised Neverland. Really good first episode. There are many others. And, I mean, we'll continue talking about those, but yeah, Promised Neverland. Definitely go watch it. If you spoiled this for yourself, I'm sorry, but go watch it.
Should have watched it.
It's really good.
Way.
Anyway,
hello.
The next first episode that we want to talk about that's also really good is ReZero. It's one that's longer than most first episodes. It is the 45-minute first episode, where most times you get the 25. It's a 45-minute one, but it's still really good.
They're usually around like 22, but
Depends on the show.
that's fair.
I'm including openings and endings, because that's what it shows on Verve and all that. The watching
I'm
services.
usually
It's
not
just
into
like-
endings.
I'm not either. Anyway,
Usually not.
there are some that are really good. Anyway, so
Wink.
gosh dang it,
Dude. So ReZero, right?
Like gamers. No.
shut up,
ReZero.
Dude.
Yes, that one has a really good first episode
First episode.
because while it's longer, it really establishes your two main characters: the love interest Amelia and the main character Subaru.
But why?
Because who's Ren?
Who's right?
No. Anyway, it like you get a lot of screen time with them, and you establish this relationship with them, so that it actually feels believable later on that Subaru is still in love with Amelia, even though he shouldn't be. But
And it is so isekai.
it is. It really is.
It's not
amazing.
even like they're not even a little bit subtle about it.
Yeah.
It's great. Usually it's like magic and this reason and this reason and that reason and why we got transported into another world. But this one's like he blinked and suddenly he's in another world.
And he doesn't question it.
And he's like,
He's like-
yeah!
It's like, I am anime protagonist man!
He's so excited about it. And he's
a
like,
little
I
meta
am
that
an
way.
anime protagonist now.
It's amazing. It's
perfect.
hilarious. And and then he has his first real encounter with bad guys, and he's like, oh crap, I'm not overpowered in any way. I'm still just me.
I'm still just like a guy.
Paku, bro.
Crap.
a shut-in NEET who can somehow communicate with people effectively. And doesn't have social anxiety. And doesn't...
Whoa now.
That's how you know that it's still fiction. It's like,
That's how you know that it's still fiction.
this is not realistic.
Yeah.
But-
yeah.
Yeah, it sets up the normal world in like 2 seconds. It's like, yeah, he's at a supermarket or a convenience store buying a manga or something.
Or
along
some,
those
like,
lines.
Ramen.
Yeah. Some ramen and potato chips.
Yeah.
And then
Some cup ramen. Microwave.
and then he blinks and he's no longer there. And so you're like,
But
okay.
he still has his cup ramen. And his potato chips.
Which are actually important.
Which are important later on in the story.
Anyway. Yes.
He's like, I have my microwave ramen, but no microwave anymore.
He's like, what do I do?
What do I do with this?
So lost.
At least I still have potato chips. Anyway, so he gets transported, and immediately that's a surprise. So you get normal world, and then you get surprise right after, and you don't even know the character. You don't know why he's there. There's no real plot
Yeah.
yet, and so you're just like, oh, what? And so now it has to reestablish the world, which it does fairly well. It establishes that it's just like, a normal world with, isekai elements, fantasy elements, RPG elements, right? Normal stuff for anime watchers. So it doesn't go into too much detail about that.
It's true.
Magic and medieval-y type stuff and...
And different races and dragons
Yeah,
and
naturally.
crap.
Then he meets Amelia.
And then he meets Amelia, and
And it's
crap
great.
goes weird.
And he falls in love with Amelia in this first episode.
As one
And
does.
you kind of a little bit do too. Because it's pretty good. She
Yeah.
does some really cute stuff.
But basically, they go around. You get a bunch of just like character moments for the first half
They
of the episode.
help a kid.
Yeah. It's not all that important, and it's just kind of like character development as to get you to like these two characters, right? To root for Subaru and Amelia, and then
Actually, the small stuff in this show, in this first episode, like when they do help the kid, becomes very important later on. Mm-hmm. And I love it.
yeah, that's
Just
that's
small
one thing
details.
that's pretty cool. But then in the second half, we figure out where, where they need to go. So, the plot, basically, the goal for this episode is Subaru is trying to help Amelia find her stolen insignia. I think
Stolen expensive thingy.
stolen expensive thingy. Yes, I think it's an insignia.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the goal. And you go most of the episode trying to figure that out. And they end up in a bar with... Right? Is that in the first episode?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they end up finding this bar or like a shop that sells a bunch of different, like, important magical weapons and items and stuff like that. Like, just important things, random odds and ends. And they've been chasing this girl who stole the insignia. And so you have, so now you have the plot, and you have, you've had a lot of character development as of late. Like, you even get to meet Puck, which is another side character, which is really nice, and you get a bunch of screen time with him. Him? Her?
Him.
It.
Puck.
Puck. The spirit. Do they have a gender? They don't have it.
They.
It. Them. Anyway, so you've got basically two characters that have been established.
Very
And you
well,
get,
too.
Yeah, very well. And you get the third one. That's a side character. So, all that aside, they head into the shop, and it's all dark. And then... Does Amelia head in first?
No.
No. They head
Subaru
in
heads
together.
in
Okay.
by himself.
You're right.
And then he sees the dude dead.
Yes.
And then he suddenly gets, like, clubbed. And he doesn't see who kills him.
Yeah. That's what it was.
Funk.
And then I'm pretty
And he
sure
has, like, an
Amelia
internal...
walks in, and she gets killed, too.
Yes. But he has an internal monologue about how, like, he's dying and how Amelia can't come in here and all that stuff. And then she does, and then she dies.
So much suffering.
And so he's all sad. And
Because he's
then...
dead.
He's alive again.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, he, like, closes his eyes, and he opens them again, and he's standing in front of the dude that first guy he talked to in the New World. He's standing right there in front of him, and he's just like, what just happened?
And it, like, establishes what the magic is of this show, what the plot is, with that one moment.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, he can... That's what's special about him. He doesn't die when he dies.
He doesn't die.
It's like a save game, like a video game. Oh,
Like a
no.
video game.
He goes back to the last checkpoint.
Yep.
Good stuff.
And then, I believe in that first episode as well, he sees Amelia, who told him her name was Satella. And he calls her Satella, and then she's like, excuse me, what did you call me? And that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And so you're like, wait, what? I thought that was her name. I'm so confused. And it's a really good first episode because it sets up 3 surprises, basically, really well as establishing in a new world and 2 really important characters. Mm-hmm. So, the fact that it's able to get 3 surprises in the first episode, as well as making them, like, actually entertaining and interesting, is really well done. It's really well written.
Yeah.
So, all in all, it's a really good first episode. But, I mean, there are a lot of moments where it kind of stretches, which I think a lot of first episodes do. Mm-hmm. Where it's just like...
Such a long first episode.
Yeah. And it's just like you're trying to get a feel for the characters and a feel for the world and stuff like that. So setting it up kind of feels like it's long, but all these moments matter. Mm-hmm. As we talked about previously with The Promised Neverland, like, that one had many moments where, like, you're just like, okay, this is kind of dragging, like, this doesn't seem important, and then it does become important. And it's the same thing with ReZero. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. That one's a really good first episode, and it establishes many things right off the bat without ever really feeling like an exposition dump. Right? So, yeah. I really like that first episode. But, now we're going to talk about one that's not exactly great.
Really awesome show. Like, probably absolutely one of the best. Mm-hmm. But not a great first episode. Mm-hmm. Kind of not good. And that show is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Yep.
Its second episode was better than its first.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because in the first episode, it established way too many characters.
And told you way too little about the world.
Told you way too much that you didn't understand. Therefore, telling you nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one is like the most just word dump. Not necessarily word dump, but exposition dump. It's just full of things that are important, and after watching the show, you go back and watch the first episode, and you're like, okay, this makes sense.
Even like 2 seasons in, like you can go back and watch and be like, oh, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. The first time I watched it, I was like, I think this guy's a bad guy because he got hurt sometime. And then I was like, he says a lot of stuff, but I don't understand any of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then later you watch it and you're like, oh, that's a very good episode if you understand what's going on.
Yeah.
It's a very good episode.
It's a very compelling episode if you know what's happening. But as a first episode, as your first experience with a show, it's not good.
It's like throwing you in the middle of the show.
Yeah, practically. Because
Your first episode is your 6th episode. Something like that. And you're like, what's going on?
It's your 20th episode.
Yeah.
25th.
yeah,
30th.
like I think timeline-wise, because it's not like before the events of the next episode.
No,
It's
the
like
second
from the
episode starts
basically
at the
like
beginning.
the middle of what is the show in a macro sense.
Yeah. The middle of the timeline of the show,
Yeah.
I guess.
Because it doesn't really tell you very much about the main characters even. Like you see them a few times and you're like, they look like they might be important.
Yeah,
But then like you also get a lot of screen time with other people and you're like, what's happening?
it seems very scattered.
And it doesn't give you a twist or anything. Not really.
Yeah, not really.
Not until episode 2.
Yeah.
That you
Yeah.
kind of get the backstory and you're like, oh, dang.
And then you figure out who your main characters are, what happened to them, why they're doing what they're doing.
What's
Honestly,
their motivation, yeah.
second episode is a better first episode, but it still doesn't do everything that a 1st episode. Like you still kind of need that
At the
first
same time,
episode.
you should watch the first episode.
It's weird. It's weird like that, where you do need to watch the first episode to get the second episode and to like care about the second episode.
And that's why there's the 3-episode rule.
Because of the
Because of stuff like that.
Yeah.
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 And I think a lot of shows have stopped doing that, have stopped, like, trying to be, oh, everyone's just going to give us 3 episodes, so let's, like, do everything in 3 episodes. And a lot of the newer shows are like, let's hook them in 1.
Goblin
I love
Slayer.
it when they do that.
Things like Goblin Slayer, things like Promised Neverland, things like
Yeah.
Attack on Titan, Death Note. Well,
Yeah, definitely.
I love it when writers are like, I'm going to blow your mind in 20 minutes.
and you're just like,
They're like,
And then they do it,
it.
like,
I dare you.
My mind
You
is not ready.
do it, you won't.
do it, you won't.
And then
You
they do it, and
won't.
you're like, you earlier at the end of the Promised Neverland.
Then you watch the
Rolling.
first episode of Promised Neverland and you're on the floor.
It's like, no!
Yeah.
That was a good time,
So,
like an hour ago.
first episodes are very cool in that they can do that. And
So,
they're very important to the show.
while we all love Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood here, it is an amazing show. And
I love that show.
internationally, it is the #1 highest rated show. Which is saying something. Like, that this many people have thoroughly enjoyed it. That being said, its first episode is so lackluster as your first experience with the show. It's just meh. And it's a great, 20th episode, but it's not a great first. And so, it does, as we've already said, it doesn't really do everything well. It does it everything. Like, you kind of get a surprise with, him actually being able to complete his plan. Like, the bad guy being able to, almost complete his plan. and like start it, where like you're expecting him to just completely be stopped, and like
The only thing it does pretty well is like telling you what kind of world it is.
yeah,
That's about it. Like, there's alchemy. They make stuff with magic, kind of. But also it's science, like super advanced science.
Yeah, and it gives you a little bit of foreshadowing with Purebred. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
but yeah, it's not a lot, and it's stuff that is hard to watch. Love the show. Bad first episode. We're gonna move on because I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's gonna make me sad. Let's talk.
Which one?
Bunny Girl Senpai.
Cool.
Yes,
Yes.
that one.
Rascal does not dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
Yes.
The one we were talking about before.
We've referenced
Nothing
it a couple
will
times.
hook a young man quite like a bunny girl.
A girl in a bunny suit,
Yep.
Like, for 3 seconds of the episode. You're like,
and then you're sad.
They're
'cause
like-
you're like, oh.
Oh my gosh, she's beautiful. I'm
You
gonna
only
watch
see it-
the rest of this episode.
you only see it one other time in the
I know,
series.
it's great.
This is episode 6. You.
Ah! Stop that.
Sorry.
Anyway,
Why do you do things?
so why was it a first good episode?
Well, let's see. Right off the bat, we establish that Maya's hot.
Yes, we do.
The best girl.
He's like, I'm some normal dude.
He's
doing
in the
my
library.
normal thing.
Yeah.
I'm in the library
Like,
studying.
Yeah.
And then
And
you
then-
see a bunny girl butt walk by, and you're just like,
And then he looks up and he's like, Bunny.
You get like a glimpse of her, and then you get all of her later.
He doesn't actually, like, see her. He just sees, like, motion, looks up. Wait, what?
He goes, what?
and then he sees her walking around in this bunny girl outfit, and you're just like, okay, hold on. What?
Yep,
And
there's
second
twist
of all,
one.
nice.
Yeah, there's twist one.
Also,
And then twist two is nobody else can see her.
public place, it's a library, like a public library. No one else sees or acknowledges her. And that's why it's double weird for him. He's like, guys,
yeah. I mean, he's Sakta, so he just doesn't react.
Yeah.
But
Also, Mai's like,
yeah, Maya's like in their faces,
two other people, and they cannot see her at all.
and then she like looks at Sakta, and Sakta's looking back at her, and she's like, "Oh, you can actually see me." Well, this is weird.
And he's
She
like,
doesn't actually say that, but she's just like,
no.
strange.
"Don't remember me," and leaves. And,
And
you're
he's
just
like, but wait, how can I not?
"What?"
Excuse me?
But I need to. I must remember this moment.
Forever and for always.
I gotta follow up on this situation.
So, what's the deal?
So at the very beginning, we get the
Get a
twist.
hot bunny girlfriend.
Yes. At the
Not
very
yet.
beginning,
Gotta
actually,
follow up on
prior to that, prior to you even meeting her, we get another, like, not twist, but another setup. It's a setup, and it's really cool because you get him reading his own journal, and it's him writing to himself,
I don't remember this.
making
It's
sure
the
that he
very, very
remembers.
beginning.
That he remembers her. But you don't know this, because it's just like, what I'm about to tell you is absolutely true. Please read to the end.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. And you're like, okay.
And so you're
this
just
is
like,
interesting.
okay, that's weird. And that's the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hop into the bunny girl outfit,
As one does.
as one does. What was that?
Me hopping into a bunny girl outfit.
Do that
Nice.
again.
Please don't.
Do it again.
Shut up, Quinn!
For all the viewers at home.
Okay, they can just rewind 10 seconds and watch it again.
No, but I can't. No, anyway.
You kind of can later, though.
I'm watching this video when it comes up.
Yes,
Usually
please
I
do.
don't watch these, but this one I'm doing it.
Watch them all. Anyway.
We are them all.
Anyway.
Gotta watch them all.
Shut up, Quinn.
Do we have a name?
Oh my gosh!
Sorry.
Snow X.
I guess that's our name.
Okay.
Bunny Girl Senpai. Great
Then
first
she
episode.
tries to buy a cream custard bun, and she can't.
Because the
Because
shop
no one
owner
sees her.
Can't see
Anyway.
And
That
he's
was a
like,
sad moment.
that's sad. And so he goes and buys one for her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's
And
like,
it's adorable.
oh, thanks.
And then, yeah, but you get a bunch of moments like that where it's Sakta and Mai and establishing their characters and who they are, right? And you get Sakta as well asking about Mai and who she is, other than her being a famous actress, which is also established.
Fun fact.
Yeah. And it kind of establishes Sakata's character a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of boring. And then the bunny girl scene happens. And then the show's like, now that I have your attention, let me tell you what the plot is. Nobody can see her.
And that's why she's a bunny girl. And you're like, wait, no, but
Like,
I want to see this.
put a bunny girl on screen, and then now that I have your attention,
The reason she is dressed like this, because
yeah,
nobody else can see her.
which they do that really well. Because I was a little bit zoning out before then when I was watching it the first time. Because Kyle told me to watch it, and I was like, okay.
Watch the show. Anyway.
It's got a really weird name, but whatever. So watch the first episode and see what happens.
And now I'm paying attention. Anyway, so later into the episode, we established
And
that.
I don't pay attention that often.
What?
Gosh dang it, Quinn. Shut up. Later into the episode, we established that Mai doesn't really have any friends, right? She's kind of by herself because of how, like, the school system works in Japan and how the culture is in Japan. We established that she's kind of on her own because she didn't previously make friends, and she hasn't, she came into school at a different time than everyone else, which makes her kind of like an outcast, even though she's incredibly popular. And it's kind of hard watching the first 3 episodes if you don't know about the culture of Japan. But that being said, in the first episode, they do explain it very well, how there's like this air about everyone where they're like, man, I wish something different would happen, but in reality, no one wants that change. Everyone's always like, stick to the norm kind of thing. And if people can't read how other people are, right, if you don't get social situations, if you're not socially adept, and you just kind of lose out. You're kind of shunned. And so Sakta is a character. It establishes this in the first episode, which is hugely important to the show. It establishes that Sakta is a character who can read the situation, who does understand social situations, but chooses not to.
Your phrasing was just a little weird there. He chooses not to conform to the standard.
Yes.
Like, he understands
He doesn't care.
yeah.
There we go.
0 F's given.
Yes. Because he's Sakta.
Behold my field. See that it is barren.
Yes.
I have no cares. I had them and now they are gone.
So I think the first episode really establishes Sakta's character, who he is. And it also really establishes Maya's character, which literally are the 2 main characters of the show. So it's really good. It sets up the twist early on, so it grabs your attention. It's a really good hook. And it establishes the world, right? It tells you what it's like in Japan, what the culture is like. It's still not the most explicit with its explanation, but it does give you a sense of, oh, this is what's going on. This is how it works. This is how Japan works, right? How the school systems work and everything.
Yeah.
Plus, it's got really cool animation. Anyway,
Very pretty.
I'm talking a lot. It does a lot really well. Was there anything else?
I think we should probably talk about, like, in the first episode, doesn't it explain why we can't see her? Does it?
It
I don't remember.
Not in the first episode. That comes at the beginning of the second
Okay.
episode.
But at the end of the first one, we do learn that fewer and fewer people are able to see her. Like, she's disappearing more.
Or does it establish?
Doesn't it?
In the first episode?
I thought so.
I thought
And
it was in the second.
this show's
Maybe
kind
not.
of like,
Maybe it is in
I
the
wouldn't
first
say
episode.
episodic. It's like tri-episodic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of we
With
got
the
3 episodes, and
small
then we're done
arcs.
with this, and now we have to have another first episode. And every first episode of the arc is very well done,
Yeah.
especially the last one.
Hi.
The cliffhangers are real in that show, and it's quite good. I enjoy
It's
it.
really fun.
I enjoy myself a good cliffhanger every now and then.
Which was... It was fun for me and Kyle because we were watching it as it was coming out. So we'd be like, can't wait till next week!
Yeah. And Bunny Girl Senpai is really good at first episodes because they did like 5 of them in one season, technically. Because it's like you have one arc, and then you have the second arc, but we don't need to establish these characters again. But
Because
we need to
we-
establish this character now, and we need to establish like this rule and this twist and stuff like that. And so you get a bunch of the same first episode.
Type feel.
Yeah.
But, like, you already know the main characters.
And I mean, all of these first episodes that we've talked about are all pretty good, minus the ones that we've
Talked about
said
that
aren't
that
good. But yeah, there's a reason they're good. There's a reason, they're memorable. There's a reason they're the first episode as well. And I mean, they all grab your attention and go, pay attention. Are you going to pay attention? You're going to pay attention. And then you do. You wanna stay? Stay for the rest of the episode.
Stay with the rest of the episode. I promise you'll like it.
Or, was that a bunny girl?
Am I just...
Because watching Sakata react to her walking by, because, like, he doesn't completely see her, just sees, like, motion. It was like, I almost did the same thing as him, like, wait, what? Did I
He's
just-
like,
did I
he's
say
like
what I
reading
think
his book, and then it's just,
What? I'm not, like, I did, like, the same thing as him. I was like, did I just see what I think I saw?
And he just, like, stares at her. And she stares back. And she's like,
Oh,
I gotta go.
you can see me. Peace out.
I
Forget you saw me.
you did not see me. But I did. No.
This is not the bunny girl you are looking for.
This is not the bunny girl.
But there is one more first episode I want to mention
Okay.
because it is an incredible first episode that is very controversial. And that's Goblin Slayer.
Oh, yeah.
It is an amazing show that had a very controversial first episode because of some of the content that was in it, right? It was very dark and heavy, and
Only like the last 8 minutes of it, though.
no, the entire.
I
Well,
mean, no,
okay,
but
like the
leading
last
up to it, it was like,
the
yeah, we're
last
gonna go on an
half.
adventure.
the last half
Yeah,
was
that's what's so
pretty
good about it.
It did a similar thing to like The Promised Neverland, even. Like you're like light and like, okay, this is gonna be cool.
Right,
Let's go on an adventure.
We're having a good time. We're going on an
And then it's like-
adventure.
And then goblins are terrible.
Oh, absolutely.
death and carnage and with the
Also,
3Ds.
you know, yeah,
And then the 3Ds come at you
yeah,
real quick.
yeah, absolutely.
Death,
But then
destruction, and
goblins-
devastation.
Yes, yes.
But then Goblin Slayer shows up. He's
Yeah.
a badass and just kills everything. That's great.
Because he's even better at the 3Ds than the goblins are.
It's true.
But it is a very dark episode, and it's the darkest episode in the show. But it shows you how dark the show will be. That is the lowest it will be. That is the scariest, most intense that it will be. And it shows you. It says, okay, we're going to give you everything that we have, and if you stick around, you'll be in for quite a show. But if you can't handle this, leave now. And, like, a lot of people did leave, which makes me sad because it's a really good show.
I loved it.
But in terms of marketing, in terms of getting your show out there, I don't think anyone has done it better than Goblin Slayer. As a first episode, it created a controversy that people were like, whoa, 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 you can't show this. And it's like, well, I can.
Uh-huh.
And this is as dark as it's going to get. But if you can survive this, if you can understand why this is important and why this episode is important, then you're going to love this show.
And it's the most important episode of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly.
Yeah. Without it, the rest of the show would seem... It wouldn't be as good.
It would seem over the top.
Yeah.
You would
Seem
see
like
Goblin
they're killing
Slayer.
goblins.
You would see Goblin Slayer as just insane. But after seeing the first episode, you go, oh no, he's right.
Uh-huh.
Because at the end of the first episode, he literally... Spoilers, by the way. You ready? Okay. At the end of the first episode, he literally bludgeons several goblin children to death.
Yes.
And it is very dark. And also, like, in terms of lighting, it's a very dark first episode.
In
They're
terms
in a
of
cave most of
actual
the time, so-
lighting, it's dark.
It's a dark first episode.
Yeah.
Which sets the mood. But it's really intense. And really just like, you're like, oh gosh. But at the end of the first episode, after everything you've seen the goblins do, you're like, I mean, yes, you have to do this. I'm maybe not happy about it, but yeah, you have to kill these goblin children. Like, everything you just said is absolutely right. Do it. Kill them. Please.
Do it.
And at the end of the first episode, it's like, I want to watch the second episode because I want more goblins to die. Because they're some pretty messed up dudes.
But at the same time, I think after I watched the first episode, I was like, whoa. I need a time out here, guys.
Yeah, right?
After watching the first episode, it's one where you're like, I want to watch the next one, but not right now.
But not
Yeah.
right now.
Like, I'm gonna take a sit. I'm gonna go watch like Konosuba or
Something
or
that's
something
like
for gamers,
fluffy.
something
Yeah.
fluffy.
I'm gonna watch
Like,
something fluffy.
we'll go watch Blendes or something like
Kaguya-sama.
Yeah. Yeah.
just something lighthearted and fun.
Because not
Jeez.
gonna... Yeah.
Yeah.
And
One day, me and my family were watching a movie, and it was so dark that after we finished the movie, we're like, I think we need to watch some Powerpuff Girls. And then we did.
That's awesome.
We watched Powerpuff
Yes.
Girls. We watched an episode. We're like, I feel so much better. I'm gonna go eat some food.
That's awesome.
It was
yep,
good.
that's what happens with Goblin Slayer.
That's what happens.
And
Watch some Powerpuff Girls afterwards.
You'll do
It'll
better.
soothe your soul.
it's still a really good first episode and a very important first episode.
Yeah.
It does everything well. You establish the two main characters that survive with Goblin Slayer and the Priestess, and you establish the world of Goblin Slayer, which is goblins are crap,
Yep.
and you have to kill them.
There's other monsters and stuff, but they don't matter as
They
much.
don't matter. Because Goblin Slayer. You establish, like, the plot is killing goblins. And
Yeah,
you get the
that's the
twist
plot.
that, oh yeah, this entire squad that you saw for the first half of the episode is all dead.
Yeah.
Except for one.
Yeah.
But Goblin Slayer.
Is there the one that survived, but like you kind of wish she had died?
No, she dies.
Oh.
Oh, no. Oh, you're right. That one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where you're like, for
They're
her
all
sake,
either
She wishes she had died anyway.
they're all either dead or basically dead.
emotionally traumatized and dead inside.
So, that is a huge, like, oh, just kidding. This is actually a twist.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, yeah, okay, these four characters, they're going to be our
Going
main
on an
group.
adventure.
Yay! And
Yeah.
then it's just like, oh, no, just kidding. Only one of them is actually going to be a main character.
Yeah.
And it's great. I love it. Great first episode. Careful with watching it, though.
Yeah.
Not
Prepare your
safe
eyes.
or work.
Intended for mature audiences.
Very much so. Anyway, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So we're
all
good.
we had to talk about. I mean, Goblin Slayer is intense. So, anyway.
First episodes are good. We love them. We love you. We like likes as well.
We very much do like likes. Please like this video.
Anyway, that's going to be it. If you guys didn't enjoy it and want to see more of this, just be sure to subscribe.
Do
I
that
don't know
too.
why you're laughing.
Well, I was waiting for you to say like the video. I was like, dude, we just covered that.
I know.
Okay.
We
Anyway.
Yeah.
If you have any other first episodes that you would like mentioned or enjoyed as well, just put them down in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.